part of maturing and moving beyond these stages is reaching a certain difficulty where the parameters of your thinking maybe keeping you in a cage, and it's uncomfortable, and so you have to break out of those parameters to reach a new level.
Yeah.
The addict, if they're uncomfortable, they don't break out of their parameter. They just go use.
Yeah. And that's not just for a drug addict. That's for any kind of addict.
It's a food addict.
Yeah.
It's a video game addict. It's a sex addict.
Yeah.
It's all these things that are like, I can't deal with this, and so I don't. I just don't.
Hi, I'm Caroline Howard, a biblical counselor and certified life breakthrough coach.
And I'm Chris Oneth, marriage and family therapist and executive director of Downey Park Counseling Associates.
Welcome to Our Next Question, where we attempt to answer the questions of life through conversations in psychology and Christianity.
Remember, this is a place of discovery and definitely not the final answer.
We're back.
We're back
here
again.
In our lovely room.
It's good to be back in the routine.
And it's fall.
It is fall.
Today it is. I don't know what
truly
tomorrow
feels like
will
fall.
be.
Now, this is funny because a couple weeks ago, many people say the beginning of fall, of course, is when Starbucks comes out with their fall flavors.
Oh, but they come out with that in June now, right?
Well, that's what happened. They came out in September, and it was still 100 outside. So really, you didn't get the vibe.
Yeah.
Besides, if we were judging like our rhythms of life based on Starbucks, that's sad.
Well, I don't want to
go local.
We don't want to alienate
I don't want to judge people who do that. So
don't do that.
More power to you if that's how you live your life.
What? And I go to Starbucks. I do.
Yeah.
But part of the reason I go to Starbucks is because mornings I get up pretty early, pretty darn early, 5-ish.
That's early.
And so a lot of the local places just aren't open. Oh. So just by mere hey,
you have
a place that'll allow a guy like me in at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And by the way, certain Starbucks will not allow you in because they're worried about some of the population like downtown and stuff. They
will not
closed.
Allow you personally?
No, will not allow. They will not open their doors. They'll open their restaurant not the restaurant. They'll open their drive-through.
Oh, but not the inside.
Not the inside.
Oh, I didn't know.
I go to the coffee in our city on this Oakdale in Myrtle.
Oh, okay.
Intersection, and they are open at 5, and
inside
it's like Cheers
outside.
in there. I walk in there, and everybody's like Norm,
but they say,
but my name's Chris.
Chris, yeah.
So Chris, and you see it's the same people in there again and again and again. There's even believe it or not, there's a relationship I have with a guy whom I have not spoken to once. I walk in, every time I look over at him, I nod, he nods back.
Wow.
And we have that little connection.
We need to start filming a sitcom in that Starbucks.
Right?
Our different lives and how he's like, the
Right?
guy at the Starbucks really encouraged me today.
The only way that the weather dictates my Starbucks is when it gets colder, I just move from my iced latte to my hot latte.
Oh, I have ice all the way around.
Really?
Yeah, all the way around.
But even when it's cold outside?
Sure.
No.
I mean, I'm bundled up. I got layers and stuff.
Yeah, but it's the whole act of having to hold that cold in your hands.
That's true.
I mean, if you have gloves on, fine. But if I have to hold
I wouldn't want that.
I like to hold my
warm
hot drink.
things. That makes total sense.
Yeah. Especially
That's
when I'm
great.
outside.
Wow, you go outside? Wow, good. Hey.
I'm going to smack you.
Anyway. Why? Is there some truth to that?
No, I go outside.
You hang out outside.
Yes. I hang out outside with you and your wife all the time.
Well, yeah, that's...
Outside.
Well, that was recent, though. It isn't...
I work outside sometimes. If I'm working from home and it's nice, I go outside.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
There you go.
And then one day like this, I want to say big ol'. It wasn't big ol'. It was... How big do you say that is? How long?
I don't know.
Like
was a lizard.
10 inches.
So we get a ton of little lizards, and I'll watch them like scurry, and no big deal. They're cute, and they scurry. And then I'm on a telehealth session with a client, and out of the corner of my eye, I see something that's more than 10 inches.
It's like, hello, Caroline.
And she must have seen my face, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I just had to put my feet up off the ground, and
They're not going to go specifically attack you.
You don't know
They do not
that.
care about you.
They do.
By the way.
They do care.
They have other things to care about.
I can see their little eyes that, like roll into the
and they're
sides
like, I'm
of their
coming
head.
to get you.
Yeah.
No, see, that's the type of like
Totally.
challenging your thoughts that need to engage. Like, he is not after me.
All right, we better get into our icebreaker question.
Whatever.
Here.
What is this is the icebreaker question.
Okay.
What is your favorite fall activity, or one of your favorite? I hate to narrow things down to your favorite. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Some of your favorite fall activities.
I can do more than one. Well, the first thing I was going to say, so that you can make fun of me some more,
yes.
is my favorite fall activity is wearing sweaters
Oh, hey, why not?
outside
Okay, then.
while picking up pumpkins. I
Wow.
love pumpkins. All the different varietals of pumpkins. There's so many.
Do you put them like at your house and
Yep.
stuff?
I have some on my front porch.
I remember when I was a kid, there was like one pumpkin color.
Yeah, it was the orange.
Orange.
Yeah.
That's it. Now there's
I know.
there's myriad.
I have a white one. I have an orange and yellow striped one, and I have like a tan skin colored looking nude.
Hey, you know
colored
the guy who
one.
comes up with that, or the gal
cool.
who comes up with that is like, hey,
Big Pumpkin has gone too far.
big pumpkin, yes.
The only ones I can't do are the ones with the bumps all over them, like the warty pumpkins. That's what we
Now,
call
what
them.
does that say about you, Caroline?
Exactly.
That's the question.
You're judgy on the pumpkins.
I am judging on the pumpkins.
No, but it is. It's great. There's a whole feel out there. The leaves are changing. Finally,
Yeah.
today's not even going to be 70 degrees.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. It's about time.
Okay, so what's your favorite fall activity?
You know, I still like to do a lot of outdoor stuff. I love riding my bike in fall because it's cool. And, you know, you're generating heat by riding the bike. And when I say bike, I'm not the motorcycle, the pedaling.
Oh, okay. I was thinking
Pedal bike,
motorcycle.
mountain biking. And yeah, man, it's cool out and you're pedaling, and then you can, you don't need a lot of layers if you generate your own heat source. And so,
breeze.
yeah, it's still like you can still get out there and push yourself a little bit and enjoy the beautiful colors. And you got to be careful not to slide on the leaves. That you can hurt
that's a thing.
yourself. But yeah. So, and I love the smell of, maybe it's the rotting leaves or something like that, but there's this smell to fall that's like incredible.
Did you say rotting leaves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's this green sort of, is it green? Maybe it's not.
Like the
Earthy.
crisp air.
All that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So amazing.
It is.
I know what I'm doing Saturday morning.
Riding your bike.
Potentially.
I
Yes.
was trying to
Caleb.
think, I don't feel like I really do any fall activities anymore like I used to, but I think the one thing I do every fall is watch a show called Over the Garden Wall,
Whoa.
Oh.
which
never heard of
is
this?
a nice little animated,
Oh.
very fall themed kind of like Halloweenish, but
Oh.
it's a great little introduction to autumn. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at that.
See, we
I've
totally,
heard that.
it's funny because we're probably not even going to be talking about Halloween or don't have a Halloween episode.
Sure, I do like
That's true.
giving out candy.
Yeah.
That is
for
cool.
treaters.
I'm
It's
pretty
fun.
sure this comes out after Halloween.
Yeah, it will.
So we're going to be talking about Halloween, and it's already going to happen.
Well, we're out in the country, so
It's
we
still
don't
part of
get
fall.
any trick-or-treaters ever. Anymore.
I might be that person that sometimes turns their lights off.
Ouch. Why? Hurtful.
If I'm home alone usually means I'm home with my 26-year-old daughter with
Got it.
special needs. She goes to bed at 6:30.
Oh, okay.
And so then it's like, do I really want to listen to the doorbell ring and like by myself?
You're like, kid, you're
Because
like,
usually, like
you're 18. You've got to be at least 21. What are you doing?
I'd rather just turn off the lights, make some popcorn, eat the candy myself.
Okay,
there
then.
you go.
Heat your mug of, whatever.
Yeah, whatever's warm. Well, here's the thing. Well, no, we won't even get into that because
right.
Halloween's just different now than it was when we were kids. Let's just say that.
You don't get as much candy anymore.
True that.
Well, it's not so safe to eat the candy anymore. So I've even had, last year I told my son, hey, go to the church event instead, and then we'll go to Target and I'll buy you 3 bags of candy. He's like, legit, Mom.
You mean the trunk or treat?
No, it was a youth event.
Was it a harvest party? Because that's what churches do these days.
I know. I think they called it Halloween.
It's like we cannot call it Halloween for some reason. We have to call it, yes, we
Yeah.
have to call it a trunk or treat.
Well, it's their morals, Oh,
What a transition.
do you like that? That was a good segue.
Okay, then.
So our next
what are we talking about today?
question is, how do we mature morally. So last couple of weeks, we've been talking about moral development.
Yes.
The stages. We had Kohlberg. We had...
Remember those times? So great.
We had Piaget, right?
Yeah.
Piaget. We had Erickson. There was one more. No. What was the last one?
Kohlberg? Did we mention Kohlberg?
Yeah, Kohlberg,
Keegan.
Erickson, Keegan. That's right.
Keegan, yeah.
How did I forget Keegan?
Yes.
So we talked about those, and then today we kind of want to dive into like how do you move.
So before we do that, we did a little bit of a recap.
Okay,
recap it. For example, Erickson is the trust, mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, or ego integrity versus despair. So in these stages, in Erickson's stages, graduation isn't necessarily, it's not a black and white thing. It's not like, okay, it's New Year, I've graduated. It's not, okay, now I'm 5 years old, which means I've moved on.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is a trait is carried on. So, for example, trust versus mistrust in infancy. You know, if you can trust your caregivers, if your basic needs are met of hunger, whatever, diaper change, whatever, then you start to develop in that area, and then you start to move on in autonomy versus shame and doubt when you start to, take on physical characteristics like I can move across the floor, or I'm toilet training, or I can put my pants on, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, and parents have a huge aspect in that. Like parents, if parents, refuse to let you put your clothes on by yourself, then you may be, 18 years old, but, having your clothes picked out. Who knows?
Yeah, because it's good to even say the trust might move on, but if the mistrust was built, then that mistrust moves on from stage to stage.
You're absolutely right. That's for example in Erickson's stage development, that's kind of how that plays out.
Okay.
In like Keegan's, there actually is a stage, like you need to come to terms with the stage you're in before you can move on to the next stage. Okay. There has to be some sort of like understanding or mind shift, dare I say, mastery of some sort before you realize, okay, and the term they use is schema. In other words, how you understand the world comes to shift, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And many people do not move on with certain stages.
Okay. They get stuck.
And so I suppose for this episode, we'll focus on Keegan, although I don't know what I did with the chart that had all of them. Talk about Keegan and his, in his moral development.
Okay.
And so his big thing is, we move from being subject to I am, and maturity or transition moves the subject to an object. In other words, I have.
Okay. So I am to I have.
So how that might look is, let's see, in relation to others. Or even stage one, like impulsive in early childhood, you would be like, I am hunger.
There are days.
I'm hungry.
There are days where I feel
am
like
hunger,
I am hunger,
and I need that need met right away.
Yeah,
and I will scream and cry until it happens because my whole being is caught up in I am hunger.
Yeah.
Versus, when there's some sort of maturity level, then at some point we're like, oh, I have hunger. Mm-hmm. It's not going to kill me. I'm not going to die if I don't have a hammoch.
Yes.
Or whatever. Now, believe it or not, of course, there's adults and people that you may know in your life who haven't seemed to graduate past these things.
Are those the people that people call them hangry? They get hangry?
No, I mean, that's just, again, that's like, okay, I've got this irritation. Mm-hmm. And instead of I have an irritation, it's I am irritated. I am, and I've got to get rid of this right away. So... By the way, hangry can mean a lot of things. It can mean, yes, I'm a little hungry. It can mean I'm depleted in some way, shape, or form. Need more electrolytes.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah,
well, you have those people who are there like, yeah, they're hangry. They just need to eat.
Right.
They haven't eaten. They're hungry. Once you feed them, they'll be fine.
I've heard my personality fundamentally changes. A lot of times
we referring to you.
We don't realize it. We just don't we don't realize it.
They need a Snickers bar. That's what they need.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Always carry mini Snickers in your bag.
Totally. Okay, so understanding that,
yeah,
it's important, even as Christians, that we recognize like how we frame and see the world, because we will even see our faith in such terms.
Okay,
we will see other people in our faith or around us in such terms, and we'll cover those terms in just a second. We will actually come to a stage, unless we mature, we will see people as subjects or objects or something that needs to meet our need.
Yeah.
Unless we move to a place of autonomy and agency and are able to meet our own needs in that respect.
So if you're stuck in a stage, I'm just going to keep calling it that. If you're stuck in a stage,
by all means,
do you just automatically assume or see the world that they're all in that same stage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's a great question.
Well, thank you.
That is a great question. No, it's like, yeah. If for example, in stage 2, which is, they call it the imperial mind, which is 6 years to adolescent. Let's see. They talk about, I'm trying to get the percentages here. Okay. So stage 1 is impulsive mind. It's early childhood. It's essentially you're hungry, you need food. It's all like impulses, right?
Yeah.
Then it moves to the second stage, which is I am needs, interests, and desires. They say there's many adults that never get past this stage, and the way to tell is if the world is all about what they think they want and need.
Yeah.
What, are you going through the inventory of?
I'm repeating it in my head because,
So taking
a mental list of people.
Right.
They
Certainly
go there.
not me.
They go there.
Certainly not me. Yeah. So the interest. So again, that's a great point you made. If all of who I am is my interests, needs, and desires, then my understanding of myself and my understanding of you is that the world is just about needs, interests, and desires.
Yeah.
So relationships tend to be transactional.
Yeah.
Yes. So essentially you are just someone who is there to make sure my needs are met.
Yeah. Then what happens though when I throw a fit and
needs,
I say
interests, and desires? Well, how dare you?
Not.
Then it's a battle.
Yeah.
To get our need met with each other. How many married couples like that?
Well, a lot. But is this also why 2-year-olds throw tantrums when they're told no?
Well, sure, because they're not going to think, oh, wait a second, there's actually other reasons why there's a no.
Right. But then you do see that in some adults too, right?
Yes.
Who, when they're told no, it's like, how dare you?
Oh, I heard a story the other day. So three of my kids have worked for Starbucks.
Okay.
They say that is one of the hardest things because when people in the population don't get their, don't have their drink made perfectly the way they want, they will fly. They will short circuit, fly off the handle.
I mean, they haven't had their coffee yet. So
my gosh. Right. And so it's like a drug or all the ingredients they put in it. Right. So I heard of a story of recently in Oakdale at the is it Farmer Brothers? No. What's the coffee?
Dutch Bros.
Dutch Brothers. Dutch Bros. Whatever. Farmer. That's the fast food place. Anyway, Farmer Brothers. Yeah, Farmer Boys. I'm mixing things. So
good fried zucchini.
I'm old.
Dutch farmer.
Yes, it is the Central Valley. So Dutch Bros had a gal that refused to leave. She refused to leave the drive-through
because her coffee was wrong.
Something where she wanted something. She wanted what she wanted. I'm not sure the details of the story. Oftentimes it doesn't matter. but it's the fact that someone sat there and essentially threw themselves on the ground
right,
with their car and refused to leave. And so they had to back people out of the drive-through as the police came. And,
no, it got like that. Wow.
Oh, it gets wild. People throw down.
Wow.
So, okay.
Can we? Okay, so here, so I don't know why I'm stuck on this thing or this. Can people so I've moved on to different stages. I've graduated. Can you revert back?
No, that's a good question. And I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Because I think especially what we find in like drug addiction is what happens in drug addiction is you never graduate to a more mature phase.
Yeah.
And so essentially part of maturing and moving beyond these stages is reaching a certain difficulty where the parameters of your thinking maybe keeping you in a cage and it's uncomfortable. And so you have to break out of those parameters to reach a new level. Yeah. The addict, if they're uncomfortable, they don't break out of their parameter. They just go use.
Yeah. And that's not just for a drug addict. That's for any kind of addict.
It's a food addict.
Yeah.
It's a video game addict. It's a sex addict. Yeah. It's all these things that are like, I can't deal with this. And so I just don't. And so, so you're right. You have full blown adults. So yes. And so what happens is in a stage of maturity, the subject, in other words, what we think we are, moves to being an object. In other words, what we have. So yeah.
Okay.
So in stage 2, of course, the is, or what I am, are needs, interests, desires. What I have, or the object, in other words, which was stage 1 and how I was driven, was impulses, feelings, and perceptions.
Okay.
So I have perceptions, but I am my desire. And so I must have my desire met. And if I perceive you're not meeting my desire, it may be hard. It may be even hard for me to challenge my perception because my desire is so imminent.
Yeah.
Not realizing that, look, in a later stage 3, right, I have a desire, not I am a desire.
Yeah. The perception thing is interesting, especially, so I think, we have different charts we're looking at, but in mine, like the first level, it gives a year and that's it. It just says 2 to 6. But all the next levels give years, like 6 years to teenage, and then in parentheses, and some adults.
Yes.
So it's interesting that that's what they've discovered is where a lot of adults can stop, is right there.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of that is in perceptions. Like we don't challenge our perceptions enough or try to see the other side. Like look at it from a different angle, look at it from a different perspective.
And that requires, for example, that I am not just wholly understanding of what I think I need, but also I have a conceptualization that you are an other, a true other.
Yeah. Yeah.
In other words, you're not just someone here to make sure I get my sandwich and my hunger goes away.
I realize you have other things to do during the day, and
exactly.
Might not
it occurs
be
to
your
me.
Priority.
It occurs to me that I've noticed you're busy with a lot of things, and so maybe you don't have time to make my sandwich. Why am I doing the sandwich? I have no idea.
Did you eat lunch?
I did.
Okay.
Dave's Tacos, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, and so then that might even, which is the interesting part, is if others are if the relationship in stage 2 is transactional, in other words, people around me are there to make sure my desires are my needs, interests, and desires are met.
Yeah.
Then they don't truly exist in and of themselves. They exist as far as what I think they should do. And the moment I come to find out, they have other lives, that also is a stage in which I can be empowered to meet my own needs, interests, and the desires. And that's a later stage.
I got to see this play out a little bit in my 13-year-old the other day.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, a weekday morning. So that's crazy, right? Getting ready for work, him getting ready for school, lunch has got to be made, breakfast has to be, all those little things. dealing with my other daughter upstairs, making sure, so I'm, as a mom, you're in 20 places doing 20 things at one time. And he had asked me for something. And I was like, hey, dude, can you get it yourself? Or, hey, I got to wait. And then I'm yelling back at his sister. And he was like, wow, Mom, you do a lot.
Oh, wow. That's like ding, 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 ding.
And he was just like,
I've talked to a lot of husbands that don't realize that.
And he's like, and you do a really good job, and thank you. And I was like, what did you need now? I'll do it every time.
I see what's going on. Oh, this kid's playing checker or chess here.
No, but it was like the fact that and you could even see that little brain tinge go.
That's funny because I wonder then if in his stage of development he'll remember that moment.
Yeah,
that moment. All of a sudden I realized my mom does a crap ton of stuff.
Yeah, I mean I'll remember it forever. Maybe I just need to remind him. Remember how much stuff I have to do.
Oh my gosh. Which is interesting because, like, for example, Jillian.
Yeah.
You have to do everything for her. Oh, hey,
yes.
do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, Jillian, you forgot your backpack?
Right.
What's going on? Right.
Right.
But if you have to do that with your other 13-year-old, it's like, come on, kid.
Yeah.
Pick up the slack.
Well, and that's even something I had to train myself because when your first child is special needs and you have to do everything, that becomes your norm. And so then, as my second and third child came along, it was like, oh, wait, I don't
fend for yourself
to do
kid.
it. So you do kind of swing the pendulum at first.
Now, conversely, this is a whole different topic, but does that mean did Emma become like super responsible?
Yeah, she's very independent.
So even from a young age, she could perceive, Mom's busy.
Totally.
I got to get this.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Nolan.
So I'm trying, pendulum was here, pendulum went over here. I'm trying to get Nolan. I'm trying to get this last kid in the middle.
Dude, so it's like, what? Okay. All right. So stage 3 is the socialized mind, and this is most adults.
Okay.
And this is about, they say, 58% of the population, 30. What is, I had something that had numbers on it, and now I'm missing it, but we will. Yeah, we'll just continue on.
Just make up a number. No one will know.
Sure, absolutely. So the socialized mind is, most of us are in this stage, and the subject is I am interpersonal relationships and mutuality. That's who I am.
Okay.
What I have are needs, interests, and desires. So this is where we can start to subjugate or submit our needs, interests, and desires to that of relationships.
Yeah.
The struggle is, and this is another maturity stage, the struggle is I am wholly based on what I think others are wanting from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, I'm going to flip back between the different stages. In the imperial mind, or 6 years to adolescence, stage 2, it's all about even doing things. Doing the right things is all about why I don't want to be punished.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then stage 3, the socialized mind, is doing things, well, I don't want so-and-so to know, or I don't want to disappoint so-and-so, or I don't want them to be mad at me. Right?
So that was because I'm thinking, like, would that second stage be where children learn to lie because they don't want to get in trouble, and if they do wrong? Very
good question, because lying, I always, try to, in relationships, I try to change because there's different reasons for lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the person we lie to most is ourselves by, suppressing our own thoughts, feelings, and all these other things. And then, of course, they come to bite us and they become overwhelming. And then we're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? Well, it's because we never recognized the smaller voice that was there because we never listened.
Yeah.
So lying could be about hiding.
Yeah.
And so that's why I changed the name lying to hiding.
Okay.
And that's exactly what's happening. People are lying so because, well, I don't want you to be mad at me.
Yeah.
Rather than be driven by a moral, value.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we need to do a whole episode on lying.
Oh my gosh. Oh, sure. Sure.
I'm writing that down.
So the socialized mind.
Yeah.
Stage 3. Now, keep in mind, this is stage 3. There's still 4 and 5. There's still 2 more stages. Right. The socialized mind, yes, it begins to consider others, but if it gets dialed too high, then others become the driver for our whole existence. In other words, I go to church not to learn about the Lord and to grow in my own heart, but because that's what's expected of me socially.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want to not fit in my church group. So yeah, I'm going to potentially, I'll quote scripture and I'll go to Bible study and I'll do all the things.
All the right things.
All the right things.
Yeah.
Now, the drawback to this is if, for example, I'm doing all the right things and then you hurt me in some way, well, how dare you, because I did this for you.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, what I don't consider necessarily is the mature otherness that you are.
Yeah.
It's still an otherness to make sure my own needs are taken care of.
So interesting, because I think Enneagram 2 struggle with that a lot.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
So thoughts, belief, morals may come from external sources. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, growing up in church, yeah, it was all about like, oh, we shouldn't do this. Right. I mean, I can't tell you. We did at one point got rid of like a ton of our CDs because that was not godly. We had to buy them all back when we decided that's ridiculous. Book burnings and stuff. External. We look for external validation to drive our sense of self. This is what Internet Movie Database had a lot of the restaurant reviews. Okay, wait a second. And granted, you look on Yelp, and which has its own veracity issues. But you look on Yelp to find the great restaurant.
I've decided not to do that anymore.
Really? Why? What happened?
Because we're not everybody writes reviews. And a lot of times the people that write reviews are the people who write because they're mad or don't like it.
Yes.
And so you're not like, so here I am judging someone's restaurant based on what somebody else said.
There's also, the other interesting phenomena I found is that it depends on what type of restaurant it is. Like,
really?
Yes. If someone, I don't want to slam restaurants, and I try not to be a snob.
Don't say any names.
Let's just say you go to a Denny's. I'm not against
you
Denny's.
You mean Lenny's?
Lenny's.
Change the name to protect the innocent.
And you are a Lenny's person. And let me.
Dude, Lenny's is not bad.
Have you experienced a Waffle House? Have you experienced a Waffle House, the fast food place?
No.
You're probably better off.
Okay.
We were in Mississippi. My buddy and I went to a Waffle House, and it was.
I hear people rave about Waffle Houses, though.
Maybe not that one. But again, it would. So a person that goes to a Waffle House is potentially a certain type of person. And then they were like, "This is the best Waffle House ever." But what does that compare to, say, Lucille's downtown
or IHOP?
Or IHOP. Yeah, sure. Okay. I like to go local. But
I know.
Again, I'm not a snob.
I'm not a snob.
So Lenny's, if you're a Lenny's person, then yes, you're going to base your tastes and what you think is good or not.
Yes, which is why I've even on Amazon, I've kind of started backing away from like reading all the reviews and like, just try it for yourself. See if you like it or not.
There you go. Good,
okay.
Good.
Go ahead. Nice side tangent.
So again, stage 3, external validation. But at least one of the benefits is you may not necessarily view people as a means to an end. Like you may even hyper consider.
They're there for more than just meeting your needs.
Yes, but then you could hyper consider like, oh my gosh, do I? It's like the old where do you want to go eat? Let's go to Lenny's. Is that okay with you? Oh, you don't want to go to Lenny's? Where do you want to go? Oh no, you want to go to IHOP?
No, isn't it better? We're like, I don't care where we go, wherever you want. Well, how about Lenny's?
No, that is
not Lenny's.
Wherever you want. No, where you want. Oh no, anyway. Okay, so a stage 2 cheater was worried about getting caught and the consequences, breaking up, being kicked out, whatever.
Yeah.
Stage 3 cheater feels guilty and disturbed because of the relationship. Stage 3 cheater feels guilty and disturbed they call it cognitive. There's a dissonance inside them. There's like, I did this wrong thing. Yeah, because cheating is wrong and goes against his or her beliefs and values. So
that's a really good. I like that. Just putting an example to it of like if you're cheating on whatever. I mean, you could be cheating on a test. Whatever. So if you're stuck in this stage, you're only gonna feel that I don't want to get caught.
Yes,
you're not gonna be feeling the what's the word? The guilt or the shame of it.
Yeah, it's not so stage 3 would be like, well, I upset you, and that there can still be issues with that, like, oh no, I disappointed you.
Is it more of like an external fear
it's
of guilt
still
than
external.
an internal?
It's still external.
Yeah.
Like stage 2, I don't want to get busted. Stage 3,
still external.
I don't want you to be upset at me.
Okay.
Or stage 4 is the self-authoring mind.
Okay, so that's when we start going the internal.
Yes, they say 35%, according to Keegan, live at this stage, right? The self-authoring mind. So the
35% of adults.
Yes.
Which means 65% of adults
live in these other places. That's a good. Well, you're doing the math. Wow.
I know. Did you see how fast I did that? That was a little impressive.
So now this has our faith implications because, again, like, do we go to church because it's a social club that we need to fit into?
Yeah.
Or is it because we truly want to do it? I cannot tell you how many marriages I have witnessed where, for example, and I've told this story before, where if he drinks too much, goes to parties, and she's nervous about it, and she's like, I don't like you drinking too much. So the next party, he's offered another drink, and he looks over at her and points to the drink saying, babe, is this okay? That drives me insane. What do you think?
What do you want to go do? Just chug it, or you're like...
You either chug it and pay the consequences, or you decide, you know what, I have had enough.
Right.
And I'm okay
like make
with
the
that.
decision for yourself.
You make the decisions
internal,
for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is stage 4, self-authoring
So
mind.
the guy who's going, babe, should I take a drink? He's stuck in 2 or 3.
He's stuck in 2 or 3. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He's also eventually going to resent his wife for what a quote unquote stick in the mud she is, because, and she's going to be scared that she constantly has to monitor him because he doesn't monitor himself.
Right.
And so she becomes a mom.
Yeah.
He resents mom. And by the way, last time I checked, in marriages, mom is not attracted to her children.
No.
In a sexual way. So, dude, that's going to disappoint you. Why doesn't she ever want to have sex with me? Well, hey, try being a man.
Yeah. So this,
Sorry.
No, I love that because it's true. So like when they're stuck in that, they're literally stuck in what it said in like a 6-year-old,
yes.
like in that, and you are acting like a child.
Yes.
And if you're
or at least an adolescent.
Yeah, at least I should say, because it was 6
that's
years
the
to teens.
The more social one is the adolescent,
but still needing to be parented. Adolescents,
they
still
need to be directed in some way, shape, or form. Yes.
And so now the wife has, unless she's stuck in that level too, and then you have like a whole nother issue.
Oh, good.
But if
good point.
She's moved to a different level, and now you're right. She's taken. It makes perfect sense of why then the wife has to take on the motherly role because they're stuck in the stage.
Well, and it builds a sense of like angst.
Yeah.
Uncertainty.
And don't hear me just saying husband and wife. This could go the other way.
Oh, sure.
The wife could be like, hey, can I have this drink? And the husband's now having to be the dad.
True that.
Again.
True that. It absolutely
kids are not
happens.
attracted to their dads, and so it goes the other way. It goes the other way as well.
You're right.
But that makes such perfect sense.
Totally. Yes, and so part of even doing what is important as far as our morality is concerned, our values, is this stage 4, and the question is, what do I want? What do I want?
Yeah.
Do I want to not wing up? I can't even talk. I promise I have not been drinking. No. Do I?
Caroline told him not to have another drink.
I didn't want to upset Caroline. So let me take another sip of my beverage.
Here I go, having to parent Chris
thanks,
again.
Caroline. No, but what do I want to wake up with a hangover tomorrow?
Yeah.
Do I want to, be nervous about driving home because I'm worried I'm a little tipsy?
Do I want to cause my wife to be fearful because I'm
yes,
drinking.
and that's an interesting point, because when it's self-motivated, I mean, when it's even relationally motivated, the resentment is, my wife is mad at me for everything. There's not a personal reflection that goes, what am I doing to contribute to this?
Right.
So
Is this loving my wife as Christ loves the church if I take another drink? Look her in the face and throw one back.
So, loving myself.
It seems like a lot of what it takes to advance between stages is some kind of experience or external force that either is painful or shatters that previous level. And then it moves into introspection, hopefully, and realizing
there is no growth without pain. You're right.
Yeah.
There is no growth without, and I've equated it to a part of us dying. In other words, like, when we come to the stage and we're in constant turmoil in our marriage because we cannot think past either pleasing our spouse only or just trying to avoid consequences because we don't like how that affects us. Like when we have to move past that and the pain that's caused when we don't, right? That pain is not saying, well, you have to die. The pain is saying there's a part of you has to die. And yes, it doesn't feel good, but it's for the best. So there you go. All right. So in stage 4, this self-authoring mind, again, 35% adults, the subject or the I am is self-authority, identity, and ideology.
Okay.
The I have is relationship and mutuality. So I have a relationship, but I've moved away from I am relationship to I have relationship. The reason this is important is because there needs to be separation enough for one's own individual growth apart from dependence on others.
Yes.
If there's no individual growth in independence, and it's all subject to tethered to another person, then again, we become highly reliant on the other person. They can't make a move without, they can't, what is it? They can't sneeze without us saying bless you, or I can't have an itch on my nose without my wife sneezing or whatever. I don't know how they say it, but anyway,
that's interesting to me, because you think of couples who come to couples counseling, right? And if they're stuck in these different levels here, these different stages, that makes it really hard to do couples counseling.
Absolutely.
It's at that point where it's like, hey, y'all need to come in separate and do your own work.
One person's a 2 and trying to avoid consequences and get their own, impulses or desires met.
Yeah.
The other may be a high stage 3 in that they are totally reliant on the other person to define who they are.
Yeah.
This gets back to my model of a relationship with ourselves, relationship with others, relationship with creation. Because even our relationship with creation needs to, believe it or not, have a certain level of respect.
Yeah.
In other words, that craft beer, man, I enjoy craft beer, but I could take it or leave it.
Ditto.
Right?
More leave it than take it.
Whatever.
Because we know I don't go outside the box very often.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. No, but it's like, but I don't need that to bring me happiness.
Right.
And so if my wife says, Chris, you've been having like craft beer every night.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, you got a point. And that's not who I want to be.
Right.
And so, yeah, okay, I can turn away from it.
Yeah. You're not throwing a fit that mommy just took something away from you.
Right. My wine's super unfun. So, yes.
So would you say, I don't even know if that's the right question. Would you say that then if couples are in different stages, it's best to get individual therapy until you're like on the same stage or closer to the same stage?
I think that would depend, because I believe you can be in a certain stage, but also have almost a willingness, and that's a state of maturity as well.
Yeah.
Have a willingness to say, I want to be a better stage. Yeah. Right.
Well, I think that's key. And I think that's missing a lot of times.
It's like, in other words, what does that person have that I don't have? And I've had discussions like that with clients where I say, hey, here's the way the operation is going for you guys. Here is a place of mature operation. And they're like, well, that even exists? But once you present the opportunity and it's like, oh, the light goes on, then it's like, then they're keeping that in mind and they're moving away from that self-preserving, desperate, I got to have it my way to, oh, is that where you're coming from?
Yeah.
And I go back to addicts because they haven't matured. It's more like I've got to get this immediate need met. Mm-hmm. And I do anything to get it met, even play a part.
Yeah.
You know, one of the big things I hear addicts say, let's say alcohol is their addiction.
Okay.
And the other spouse will have this fear, this inkling that, I think they've been drinking. I think that a lot of times they're right. They can get a sense.
Yeah.
And so the statement from the person who is struggling with addiction will say, well, if you're going to blame me at drinking, I might as well just do it. Which is super, like, not, what do I want for myself? Yeah. It's, well, if you're going to accuse me of doing it, I've already been caught, so why not have fun, quote unquote fun?
Yeah.
It's not a mature thing like, what do I want for myself? Do I want to get my life together? Do I want to be a functioning person? Do I want to be healthy? Mm-hmm. Right. So.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. So now here's the other part of this. There can be a sense where individuality is dialed way high. Mm-hmm. And the individual then doesn't have necessarily consideration for the other relationships in their life, right? I don't think that's what Keegan is talking about here.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about this ability to be in a relationship, but also know what you want and need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in other words, in stage 4, we start to define who we are, or the way I like to put it is we allow and are open up to how God defines us through the Holy Spirit, not just meeting in community with others, but through the Holy Spirit that convicts us and says, no, here's, because heck, I can be in a community of believers that are super about, missionary in Modesto, in the city I live in.
Yeah.
And I could have a heart and a desire to go overseas to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to begrudge them.
No.
But I'm going to say, wait, yeah, I have something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So in this stage, of course, we can set limits with other people. We can question expectations. Mm-hmm. The other way I work this is a handout that I give that has 3 fundamental questions in relationship. And that is, what do I expect of you? What do I think you expect of me?
Yeah.
And what do I expect of myself? People in stage 3 do a lot of, what do I expect of you? And what do I think you expect of me? Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of,
what do I expect
of myself?
Yeah.
I've probably said this before, but I tell a story of, like, we used to live by 3 dive bars. And I do not go to the dive bar. Not because, oh my gosh, Melanie will be mad at me. She doesn't want me to have fun. But because I want to get up in the morning. I want to do stuff. I have a life to live. I have values that are important to me.
Yeah.
So in a stage 4, we take responsibility for our inner workings, our reactions. It doesn't mean we're perfect.
Yeah.
But, okay, we can go, yeah.
We function like adults in society.
Yes. Okay, so we're moving along in time here. We want to wrap this up pretty soon. We have a general understanding of the world in stage 4. Stage 5 is this kind of like the has become self-authorship identity, and the is I am, right? Mm-hmm. And now I don't know, I question this one. They say this is about 1% of the population.
Yeah.
The problem I have with this is a lot of times this gets on the level of what they call enlightenment. And so it gets into Buddhist territories.
Okay.
So I'm not, all right.
Okay.
But what I will say is there is a healthy detachment, not from, that you know your values, but you can also exist and have conversation with someone who has very different values.
Yeah.
This has implications even as far as the election is concerned.
Right.
Because in a place where you get to be you and I get to be me,
yeah,
I don't have to exert myself on you. And if you support a different side,
yeah,
well, if I'm a stage 5, I'm curious about that, and I want to hear about that, and let's have a discussion.
Yeah. And it's not going to end a friendship, or there's not going to be severe judgment. Yeah.
Because you get to be you and I get to be me. And
I think that election time, which this will come back, this will be out after the election, but I think this is a good time for you to figure out what stage people are in.
No, even going to family dinner or family Thanksgiving, figure out what stage are people in. Now, it's interesting because even if you go to a family function or you're in a relationship that's difficult, if they are in a different stage, it doesn't mean you are in, let's say, for lack of a better term, you're in a more advanced stage. It doesn't mean that you accept any wrongdoing. Doesn't mean that you lay down and just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means that you say something in love, and that you are still like, but hey, this is what I value about you, and this is what I care about you, and this is what I want to focus on. Right.
We don't let those things divide us. We let it grow us.
Sure. Now, doesn't mean that everybody around you are they may be in a stage where they can't accept you unless you totally agree with them.
Right.
And I've heard of senior citizens being like that.
I know. It's so sad.
In which case, that's going to be tough because then you're putting a demand on everybody else to rescue you from your difficult feeling, and that's too much to put on people.
Yeah.
So if the election turns out not the way you wanted it, well, government's not going to save us. That's the Lord's job. So being able to say, hey, even if the person I got was elected, this world is imperfect. There are things that are falling apart that may never recover until he comes back. And that's my understanding of it. And I'm not going to hate anyone or be resentful if the thing didn't go my way. There you have it.
Right. So I'm curious before we close, if you have any recommendations for people who are listening that are like, what can I do to move through that process of advancing to a further stage? Or how can I help someone else who I see is stuck advance to a further stage? I don't know if there is a specific answer for that. But
I think, first of all, if you're noticing that you're stuck in a stage, that's a huge step right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's huge.
Huge step, I think it's going to be harder for you to help someone else advance because if they don't see it, again,
they're going to force it.
It's, like getting a toddler to go to bed.
Well, if they're stuck, what you can do is you can park your car in the drive-thru and refuse to move until they mature.
Or the cops come and get you.
Right on.
Pull you out.
Totally. I would also say... going back to our 3 relationships, being connected to yourself, knowing your thoughts, feelings, and even measuring like, why don't I go out on my own? Kind of have conversations with yourself. That is one stage of maturity. Now, be careful that the conversations you're having with yourself aren't about, how do I not upset that person, or how do I please this person? I mean, maybe you'd even ask yourself, what would truly make me happy? And happiness is elusive. So what would I truly enjoy? Let's put it that way. Another thing that I ask clients is, hey, if you had a weekend to yourself, what would you do? I mean, you want to see people squirm? People who are not sure, they will, a lot of people say, I sleep.
I get tattoos.
Or, there's no heart's desire they have apart from, another person and what they think the other person wants. Mm-hmm. So, there you have it.
Good stuff.
A lot easier said than done.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. If you liked it, subscribe.
Leave a review. Share it with others.
We might start reading reviews.
Please.
As long as they're good reviews. I don't know. Absolutely. Are we going to take on the bad reviews?
Well, sure, why not? Sure. We can take it.
We got to grow.
We're in a healthy developmental stage.
You were just saying you weren't going to read reviews anymore.
Nice.
Wow, way to throw that back in my face.
Splitting hairs.
Never mind, we're not reading reviews.
Nice.
We're going to read the reviews and tell you why you're wrong or why you're right. No. All right, we'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today as we continue our journey talking about life's many questions.
To stay connected with us, you can follow us at Downey Park Counseling on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow Caroline on Instagram at RelatableCaroline. And make sure you tune in next week for our next question.